All right, Elijah, so this is rounding decimals, which is lesson 3.4, the one you had a question on. So when you are rounding numbers, just like when we learned years ago how to round whole numbers, you kind of split the digits in half. Our digits are 0 through 9. So if the number to the right is 4 or below, it stays the same. Okay, so that digit stays the same. If it's 5 to 9, you round up. Okay, stays the same. This is the same as kind of rounding down. Okay, so let's take a look at an example. If we have the number 0.782, let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. We have 0.782, and they are asking us to round to the tenths place. The 7 is in the tenths place. Okay, so we are going to look to the number to the right, which is an 8. 8 falls on the top end, so we are going to round up. So rounding up means instead of it being 7/10, it's going to be 8/10 when we round up. Okay? So let's take a look at, what if we have 2.348? Okay? And again, let's take a look at that tenths place. Let's round to the nearest tenth. So same thing, we're going to look to the number to the right, which is a 4. 4 falls on the lower end of this scale, so we are going to round down. When you round down, that number stays the same, okay? Because you are rounding down because 0.3 is less than 0.348, okay? So that's why you're rounding down, but that number stays the same. So if we were rounding to the nearest 10, it would be 2.3, okay? Now, sometimes they're going to ask us to round to the nearest whole number, which is 4. Doesn't really look like a 4. Hold on a second. Okay. Now, even though there's a decimal place between that and the number to the right, it doesn't matter. You're still going to do the same thing. So we're going to look to the number to the right, which is 7. 7 falls on the top end of this scale, so this 4 is going to be rounded up. Because remember, when we're rounding, we're determining, is this number closer to the next number up in line or the number below, okay? So let me kind of jump back to this one. If we take a look at 0.782, this number falls between 0.7 and 0.8. So we're trying to determine, is this number closer to 0.7 or 0.8 if we were to put it on a number line, okay? And it's closer to 0.8 because this is an 8, okay? Because it falls on the top end of that scale. So same thing here, we're trying to figure out, is this number closer to 2.3 or is it closer to 2.4? And because this is a 4, we're rounding to the 10th, it's closer to 2.3. Okay, this is the same way. We're trying to figure out, is this number closer to 4 or is this number closer to 5? Because the number to the right is a 7, it falls on the top end of that scale. This number is closer to 5, okay? Now, let me take a look at your problems for today. Okay, so looking at your assignment, numbers 1 through 3 and numbers 7 through 12 are asking you to identify the place value and then round to that place value. Okay, so you need to make sure you know the place values past the decimal places. So let's see, let me just write down, let's use one from the examples. So if we have 14.602, because you're not going to get any farther than that. Remember, reviewing place values, our 1 is the tens, our 4 is the ones, the 6 is in the tenths place, the 0 is in the hundredths place, and the 2 is in the thousandths place. Okay, so that's how you're going to be able to identify those. And if you take a look at page 118 in your book, it gives you a chart that shows you those place values. Okay, so that can help you with that. And then you would just round to the underlying place value, just like we've done up here. Okay. Then you have a couple of questions like numbers 4 through 6 and 13 to 15, where they have already rounded the number and they're asking you which place value did they round to. Okay, so in order to do that, let's see, let's take a look at, we have 1.974 and it got rounded to 2.0. Okay, so this was my original number. This is the number it got rounded to. So I have to determine what place value did they round to. Okay, now if you look at it right off the bat, it might look oh, I lost my place, hold on. It might look a little odd because there is still a decimal place here, but because it's 0, that kind of gives you a clue, and this number changed. Okay, so you want to kind of look at the number that changed and the farthest to the right. So because this became a 2, if we look to the right here, that 9 is going to make that 2, because remember, we're trying to figure out, is it closer to 1 or is it closer to 2? Okay, so because they rounded to 2, I know that they rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay, so this one is tenth. So let's see. Let's take a look at another one. So if we have 0.546 was our original number, and it got rounded to 0.55. Okay, you're going to look at the last place value you have, which here is a tenth, or I'm sorry, is a hundredth. That means this number got rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so you're just going to the right to the farthest place value that is written down. Okay, so let's take a look at one more. What if we had 6.493 and it got rounded to 6? Okay, so again, we're looking to our farthest place value to the right, which is the ones place. So this number got rounded to the ones place. Okay, so hopefully these examples help you with today's work a little bit. So key points, remember, if it is 4 or below, the number stays the same because you are rounding down. If it's 5 to 9, you are rounding up, so the number goes up 1. Okay? When you need to identify what place value they rounded to, look at the place value farthest to the right, and that is the place value that they rounded to. And then take a look at page 118 for the place value chart to help you determine which number is in which place value. Okay? If you have any other questions, let me know.